What are the top 10 ways I use the best real estate tool, Dealulator.com, aka Propstream, that's out there, in my opinion, to close more deals? Well, I'm going to show you how. Stand by. Let's get it.
Flip man, it's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.
Hello guys, this is Ty, aka the Flip Man. Top 10 ways to use the best real estate tool to close more deals. Also known as Dealulator.com, also known as Propstream. Now, if you watched any degree of my videos, you know I promote this a lot. This tool I've been using for almost 3 years now. I'm not sure what I was doing before. I guess I was using a lot of different tools to do one thing, which is to make it easier for me to find more deals. Now, any tool that you use is not going to do deals for you. That includes my information that I give away for free right here on this channel and through other platforms. Though that information is only a tool. Even if you have the coaching from me, I am only a tool. You're the true asset. You are the true guarantee. The tool is only to help make it easier for you to get this bread, this money. All right, so it has to be used. All right, so what I'm going to share with you are the top 10 ways that I feel that I use it on a daily basis to make it easier for me to do deals. Okay, from who simply owns the property, if you're driving for dollars, the vacant houses or whatever, someone calls you from a abandoned sign, direct mail or whatever. Just as simple as that, the basic, who owns it? All right, the property details, just the information about the property, the size, number of bedrooms and baths, years built, and so on. Skip tracing, which is a huge part of everything, is how can I contact this person if they didn't call me? And probably one of the more common questions that I get on a day-to-day basis through the comment section of this video, Instagram, and so on. The mortgage info, what do they owe as far as a mortgage? Tax lien info, or liens in general, going to help you provide that if you want to build a list based off of that. What did they pay for it? That's a huge part of it. It helps you with negotiating a potential deal if you know what they paid for it. All right, motivated sellers list. That's the nuts and bolts of all of this. It boils down to, can you talk to enough people that want to sell and let the numbers play out to the number of people that are motivated to sell, where it's cheap enough that it's a great deal that a cash buyer will want it. Cash buyers list. Once you do have someone motivated to sell, who are you going to target? Now, there are other ways to do all of this, but cash buyers list can be built right here on Dealulator.com, aka Propstream. Multifamily. Now, that's a niche, even though I actually, when you purchase my course, not saying I'm trying to sell the course, I'm just letting you know, that's a niche where there's lower competition, bigger paydays, and you can use the entire country as your playground for potential sellers and buyers. That's one of the great things about multifamily, which is 5+ units or more, which is commercial or whatever. So it's just another option, and what I like to use with this particular tool. Hot zip codes, determining where are the hot deals. That's just the basics of it. Okay, I'm going to show you all of this in this particular video on how to use the tool to do just that. Now, I have some bonus stuff. I'll get into pre-foreclosures and how to use that to search for different dates on when that's going to take place and how you can use that information to your advantage. So enough of me going through the preview. Let's get into the nuts and bolts of all of these different methods, these ways to do more deals using Dealulator.com, aka Propstream. If you want to access this after this particular video, just simply get over to the site. It's a 5-day free trial. just use it out. It won't cost you anything. So just try to use it and see if it actually helps you. But you need to watch this video first, or signing up is going to be useless because you'll get in there and not know how to use it. But I tried to simplify this as probably as a very simple tool, but so valuable. Oh, before we get into that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you are alerted whenever I upload videos just like this one. And when I go live on Thursday nights where we answer your real estate investing questions, tap the little bell to turn on those notifications. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at AskFlipMan. Now on to the video. Okay, so we're going to start out with the just basics here. Who owns the actual property? Now, when you're driving around for dollars, or someone calls you from your abandoned signs, direct mailed, or if you're researching a property before you cold call someone, whatever the situation is, or if you're doing a cold calling list, you may need to go back and research afterwards because you're calling such a large list, you're not going to research each one of them. So we'll just simply start with who actually owns the property. So I have an address ready to go here, and I just copied and pasted, so it'll drop down and boom, so it pulls up the information. And so there you go. So this particular seller here, the mailing address is different than where they live, which is a good thing. I think this is an actual duplex that I drove by. And so that lets me know who actually owns the property here. So if you were going to skip trace this information, you would need their mailing address, obviously their name, and then the property address, which is right here at the top. If you're going to send them something in the mail, same thing. You know, you have their mailing address and you send it out to them. So it's really simple. That's the basics. It tells you who actually owns the property. Liens. From tax liens to mechanics liens to debt, from credit cards, repossessed car, whatever, just liens. But most people, they throw out the term tax liens. All right, so I'm just going to show you how you can build a list, or even just research if I guess you needed to, but how to build a list for tax liens. So the first thing you have to do is what type of area am I going to target? It's going to be countywide for a particular city, or multiple zip codes, but you can search for 6 zip codes at a time here. So I'm just going to do the county where most of my stuff comes from. So you have to do the name of the county, and just as you see it here, and then comma the state. All right, and it'll populate. If you don't do that and it doesn't appear down here as a selection, that means you didn't type it in correctly. So it pulled up all the properties in the county, right? So you go to filter. All right, and depending on if how detailed you want the list to be, you can go into here, but you can leave that unchecked. And if you want it to be non-owner occupied, that's going to reduce your number, or you just want it to be vacant. So occupancy status, you can just say vacant. Then if you're targeting single family, do on the property characteristics, residential, and then single family. All right, now you go down here to ownership info. If you only want individuals and not LLCs or corporations owning them, you do that. You can put it here in the length of time that they've owned if you wanted to. And then this is where you select the type of lien you want to target. All right, so on the lien, bankruptcy, divorce status. So what you would do here is go on a specific lien type. If you're targeting tax liens, you go here. All right, and you apply. So it has a list of everything that you have, and you can delete any of these and go back and add more, however you want to do it. So I close this, and it pulls up 114 of those under the criteria that I selected. But it's up to you on how you want to build your actual list or whatever. So now it shows that these are some of these are recently sold or whatever. So those won't apply in the sense that the ownership may have changed hands, but the taxes may have not been still settled, depending on how fast they update the information in that particular county that you're targeting. Now, if I clear all and just search for tax delinquent, meaning that not maybe a lien has been put on, depending on the laws of that particular state or county, you can do tax delinquents, and let me choose the area again first, Jefferson County. All right, and I just feel the tax delinquents is not pulling up any, and that's because of how the county aggregates their information and provides it to the actual public. All right, it's just going to be on the tax lien because of our actual state laws, but in your state or the state that you're targeting, just selecting tax delinquent will pull up a list, so that will vary. So it just depends on how you want to search for that. So let me choose Shelby County, Tennessee. I still have the tax delinquent selected. Now it's different. Okay, their state laws are different on how they code tax situations where the payments have not been paid, different from Alabama, where I live, and the search that we just did in Jefferson County. All right, it pulled up over 29,000 properties. So now you need to filter these out some more. So do you want them to be vacant? All right, so that reduces down to 5,000. Do you want them to all be single family? So you go in here and you select. All right, that reduces the list down to 2,500. Do you want them to be individually owned? All right, that reduces down to 1990, meaning there's not a corporation or LLC that owns it. So those are tax delinquencies. So you can build a list from that. So hopefully that actually makes sense. Going from tax liens to tax delinquency, it gives you that option depending on how that information is done in your particular state or the state that you're targeting. So these are tax liens or just liens in general. Okay, so part of negotiating, if you know what they paid, it may give you an idea how motivated they are, how much room they're working with to make the deal work for you. Okay, so I'm gonna do two addresses here. Let's start with one of the addresses we've already been using. This is a property I'm probably gonna reach out to. But go to details here, and it was a cash sale. And back in 2013, they paid $25,000 for it. Okay, so this is a duplex or whatever, and there's no other transactions here. There's no mortgage or anything since 2013. So the date of this video approaching 7 years, and it's just in there vacant or whatever, and they're out of town owners, as you can see. So another property I want to look at that has been just recently rehabbed, and you can somewhat see what cash buyers are paying in a particular area if you do enough research. It's this particular property right here. All right, and they paid $12,500 for it. But if you look deeper into this, in the actual transaction here, this appears to be a double close. The recording dates are different, but you can see this particular company right here must have had it in the contract for $5,000, and then they wholesaled it with a double close. They may have bought it, but it looks like it just occurred on different days. They just have this recording information different for some reason. And then this company here bought it from them for $12,500, so they made $7,500. Looks like it may have been a double close on this particular deal because it's within a day of each other. So boom. So that tells you what they paid for it, and also you can look at what buyers are paying for in an area, which we're going to get deeper into that in another part of this particular video. So you can see what they paid and see if it can be to your benefit by knowing what they've paid for a particular property. Mortgage info, which can be very important as far as what they owe when it comes to a loan and or mortgage. Okay, so have an address ready to go here. And let me see, is this it? Yes, this is the address. Okay, so if you didn't see what I did, I went to details, boom. All right, and you go over here to mortgage and transaction history. All right, so this particular property, they had a recent loan that was recorded on September of 2019 for $173,500. They have 180 months, which, if my math is correct, is 15 years. And it actually gives you an idea of what the estimated payment is, which that may not be correct, or what, you never know. All right, and an estimated loan balance based on the small amount of time that they've had it, which may not be correct because you don't ever know what they put down or whatever. So, but the amount is going to be the most important thing there. It does tell you the current lender right now, so which they sell off loans all the time. So that helps you in your negotiations. Now, it's going to be rare that someone will come to the closing table to make up a difference on a property. So if the ARV on this property, just using this number up here, is 306, which that, we'll get into that on how to back up that. It's still a lot of equity in this property, over $130,000 in equity. So maybe an opportunity, depending on the condition of it, if they wanted to take what they owed on the property or something near it. But assuming that this amount was $250,000 for a wholesale deal, that wouldn't work. But you may be able to do a lease option or something like that, subject to, depending on the situation. So that gets into what they owe. Very important information. As much knowledge as you can have about a property, the better it is in your favor, whether there's going to be an opportunity there or you're not going to waste your time on it. So that's how you look up mortgage information. Okay, so what are the hottest areas of zip codes in your market? So what you want to do, you could either search by the name of the city or by the county, which is what I recommend, because you can have different cities within a county depending on where you are. You know, somewhere like Los Angeles, somewhere you can just do Los Angeles, but with that many people. But normally you can just do a county-wide search, because a lot of times people live outside the city limits, but it's still considered the same market or whatever. And then when you're dealing with most decent-sized cities, you're dealing with multiple counties. Like just using Atlanta as an example, you got Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, and I can go on and on. But all of those make up plus more Metro Atlanta or Greater Atlanta. So you have to do a county-wide search on them to determine what zip codes are the hottest or areas. All right, so I'll just start with Jefferson County here in Alabama, because I'm familiar with it more than anything. So what you want to do is go to, you put in the county, remember Jefferson County, comma, in Alabama, and then you go here to property characteristics, which searches for single family, so residential, and then single family. And then what you want to do is go down here to MLS, because we agree that most properties sell through MLS. Even if a wholesaler flips it to a flipper, cash buyer / cash buyer, normally they're going to use MLS to sell the property or whatever. Now, of course, you have buyers that buy properties and hold on to them. Also, you know, that's an option also. So, but we're just going to focus on the ones that probably are the most sales are going on, because it generally determines the hottest areas as far as actual retail sales. Okay, so first thing you want to do is MLS status is sold, and then you want to select the date range. So depending on the market, sometimes you may have to go back further. We're just going to go back 3 months. Well, not quite 3 months, but what is that, 1, 2, approaching 3 months from the date of this video. All right, so from that date up until whatever date you're searching on is going to automatically filter to the 2 part. Then you can just do a date range if you want to, or not. Just you may want to do some market research to see if it's changed compared to now to a year ago or whatever. Okay, so now you have those selected. I like to do a listed amount, and some of this will come with experience in your market, but I'm going to try to do basically a C, what's considered a C market, around 80,000 up to a B, which will probably be around 300,000 for my market for the most part. Okay, so now it's actually pulled an actual list, and over here on the map, it has all the properties that are sold in that time range, 634. So what you'll want to do is you want to zoom in to areas, and if you're familiar with a market, then it's easy for you to identify areas. You'll just automatically know. But if you're not, you still can do this, and you can just look at the number of black dots there. You can sort of see what's going on. But to get even more detailed, if you definitely want to just start to zoom in on some areas to break this 634 down. So what I'll do, this is somewhat the east side of my market, and I'm going to use the draw tool here to hone in. So I'm going to start here, 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 and I want to get this one here. Okay. All right. Then I'll do search. Now it actually takes a second sometimes, so you have to be patient, but it put it up immediately. All right. So there were 92 sales since November 1st in that area. That's less than 3 months from the date of this video, right at 3 months. Not bad. So now it's going to be multiple zip codes in here. So what you can do is only 92 of them. So what you can go here, as you see what I did, I got rid of the map by selecting this area right here. Okay, and then you go up here to zip code, and you can do either one, high to low or whatever, depending on the zip code. And then you can just start to count to see how many transactions are in a particular zip code. So there's 35235. There's a lot of activity there. We're down to number 30 before we get to another zip code. So that lets you know that's a hot zip code. Out of 93, 30 of them are in that particular zip code. And then we look at the rest of them. Nothing even comes close to being as significant. Now we're only on 50, so you have to go to page 2. Let's see what else is here. The 35210, quite a few of those. How many is that? 51 to 79, so that's like 19 or so there. 35206, several of those. So that lets you know what the hot areas are within that time frame. Now, depending on what time of year, that will actually change. So just keep that in mind also, that will possibly change also, as far as some zip codes being hotter than others. But that's simply put how you determine what areas are hot in a particular market by using those methods. As far as properties that are being bought, sold, fixed, and flipped, or whatever. So, motivated sellers, building lists to target potential motivated sellers. At the end of the day, that's the name of the game with everything we do is, can you find a great deal or not? Now, there are a lot of ways to go about it beyond just this tool or whatever, but we're here to learn what this tool, Dealulator, aka Propstream, can offer you as far as building lists to do actually 3 things, well, maybe 4 things if you wanted to. Building lists for direct mail. You could take that same list and cold call it. You could take that same list and do text messaging campaigns and also ringless voicemail campaigns. So it just depends on what, pick your poison, you choose or whatever. So my purpose here is to show you how to build a list. Now, first you have to identify either a county, a city, or some zip codes, a zip code or zip codes. Okay, so so that we can pull some good data. I'll just pull what I'm familiar with or whatever, mostly familiar with. So I'll just go back to Jefferson County. Remember, you have to put in the name of the county, the word county, comma, and then the state, and it should populate below, and then you select it. Okay, so what I normally like to do is I like to do free and clear. And what free and clear means is that normally they don't owe anything on the property, right? And so that normally includes liens and everything. So occasionally there may be a lien or two out there that is not recognized, but after the title is pulled. So free and clear. Now, as you can see, which I'll get into in a moment, there are a lot of other options here on the market: vacant, liens, pre-foreclosures, auctions, bank-owned, cash buyers, high equity, free and clears. I'm going to select bankruptcy, divorce, tax delinquencies, flippers, failed listings. All right, so once I select free and clear, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select non-owner occupied. So it says owner occupied, so I'm going to say no. Now, what that simply means, the other phrase to describe that is called absentee owner, meaning that they own the property, but they don't live in it. That describes absentee owner. Occupancy status, I really don't care about. You can, if you want to hone in on a certain list, you can say vacant or not. I don't care if it's vacant or not. If they're motivated to sell, I'll figure it out if someone is living there, whether it's them living there, which shouldn't be because it says non-owner occupied, but a relative, someone that's renting the property, a squatter, whatever. All right, the deal is cheap enough, we can make it work in most cases. All right, now the type of property. So you go to property characteristics, and I'm going to select residential because that's what we're focusing on, and single family. Okay. All right. Now, I really don't worry about the number of bedrooms, the baths, the square footage, and all of that stuff. You can if you want to get more narrow with your search, depending on some counties like LA County, Los Angeles County. It's so many people out there, you may have to narrow your search to properties that are 1,300 square feet and 2,000 square feet, just to narrow it down. But that's just going to be your personal preference. MLS status, I normally like for my properties to be off market. So it says on market, yes or no. I want to say no. Don't worry about it. Don't really fool with the rest of this. All right. The next thing you want to do, I don't really care about the foreclosure status on it. It'll pull up if it's there or not. Ownership info. Okay, so you have owner type. I'm normally going to select individual owning only. I don't worry about corporate or mixed or trust. I just want to do individuals. Does this person have the property in their name? They're just easier to reach and to skip trace. Okay. All right. The other thing is, depending on how big your list, I'm going to do a minimum of at least 1 year being owned. All right. So I'll do 1 year ownership. All right. And that's pretty much it. And which it details what you've selected over here to the right. All right. So now it pulls over 26,000 property for the entire county. All right. Now, so what I may want to do is to reduce some of this is I can go back into, I think it's under ownership info. All right. All right, under valuation and equity, I can select estimated value. Now, if I want to exclude certain types of properties, I can do a range of estimated value, and that's gonna vary depending on your market. So I may want to only deal with houses 80,000 to 200,000. All right. So now that reduces it down to 4,000 actual properties. Okay. So that's still a decent sized list, depending on what you're going to do with it. So now you have your list. You go ahead and select all here, and then you want to filter. I think it's set to only allow you to download 1,000 at a time. So what you would have to do once you've done that and hit filter, you put in 1,000, and so boom. All right, so there you are. All right, so now if you wanted to create the list, either you can add it to an existing list that you've already created, or you can name it as a new list. All right, now, so if you name that or whatever you say, I'm not going to save this one, and then you want to do 2,000. So what you would do, you would go 1,001 to 2,000. So now it would save the next 2,000. You hit add, so it's going to save 1,000 records there. And so you would find whatever you name the list, and then you would save it there. All right, so once you have your actual list, you can find it over here under properties, and it will be under your marketing list, right? So whatever you named it under here is where you would select it. So once you select an actual list, then if you want to download the entire list, well, let me just show you one thing. Out of your list, it shows that there are 21 on the market, 5 that have sold, and it just updates. And these are lists that I've had a while, so it just continuously updates to let you know the status of the list that you created from whatever time frame, which that was back in September. So what you would do is select this, and then you hit export, so it'll export it in either Excel file or CSV. And then if you don't have Microsoft Word or whatever, what you can do is just use Google Sheets, and you can use that to access your list. If you don't know how to do that, simply go to YouTube and say, how do I upload files, Excel files, to Google Sheets? And there's going to be tons of videos to show you how to do that. So there you go. So that's how you build your motivated sellers list. As again, you can choose whatever type of list you want to target, depending on how your mind and how narrow you want to get as far as your search. So, okay, so multifamily, one of my favorite parts of this. All right, so I'm going to choose Jefferson County here in Alabama. And so the first thing you want to do is go to filters, go to property characteristics, go over here to type, and you can do 2 to 4 units. That's not commercial. Consider commercial has to be 5+. Do multifamily and commercial. Now, the other thing that you can do if you want to target individuals that have properties in their names, well, you want to also do this first. You want to go, I want mine to be off market, and properties that are just in their names. And again, sometimes it's just, well, from my experience, just easier to deal with people that don't actually put a business in there, a property in an LLC or whatever. Now, one of the things here is that depending on the county and how they feed that information as far as what they consider multifamily or not, will determine if you're actually dealing with apartment buildings. So you have to somewhat just test it or whatever. And a lot of times it's just as easy as eliminating a lot of things that would be just actual houses is going up under property characteristics under building size. And I normally, to do probably 5 units or more, or do 4,000 square feet or more or whatever. So you just put in 4,000 square feet up. So there won't really be an issue with this. Now, if you want to include corporate owned properties, then you won't go in and select the individual if you don't really care. All right, so once you actually have this list built, then boom, there you go. So just to look at a couple of these or whatever, this property right here, there's a recent cash sale on it for $415,000 back in August of 2019. All right, and see the ownership information. It's a local individual with their information. So there you go. You're looking just right at the actual property. So you can reach out to them, skip trace their name and give them a call, or you can reach out to them by mail because you have their mailing address. Now, one of the other things that you can do with the multifamily, you can only search by county or zip or the actual city name. If you only wanted to target 2 to 4 units, then you would just go back in here to property characteristics, or if you want to include those, then you can do it that way depending on your market. Maybe a lot more of those. You can do the condos and townhomes, but there's all types of commercial property in here, or just property in general that you can target. So once you get that information, as always, you would create a list and you download it, and depending on how you want to reach out to the owners, whether by mail, email, text, or whatever, that's how you reach out to them once you have downloaded the list and scrub the list. So again, I love this part of it because most are not targeting multifamily. The checks are bigger, less competition, not as many, but another bonus to it, and not as many as houses, but another bonus to it is you don't limit yourself to just your market. And even if you were just doing deals in your market, your buyers can be literally attracted to your property, your multifamily property you have in the contract from all over the country. That's one of the great things about commercial real estate. It attracts buyers outside of your market more so than residential, depending on where you are in most cases. So, boom, multifamily and how to search for it right here on Dealulator, aka Propstream. Building cash buyers list. Okay, so a couple of ways to go about this. All right, if you want to do it by a property that you're targeting or you have under contract, okay, so what I'll do is here, okay, I selected that particular property, pulled up two of them because they have similar address, one is just on the north or south. So what you'll do is you'll zoom in about like this, and you'll use this tool here to zone into that particular area. So I'm going to stay, which I know this area here, I'm going to stay on this side of the freeway and the draw, and it takes a little used to getting to using this. So all you do is just pull down to the area you want, then you click, and then you pull over to the next part of it, and you pull down here. That covers that area, and probably right up into here is going to be good for that area. So now if I hit search, okay, it pulls up over 2,300 properties. So now we'll go to filter, and a couple of ways to do it. So you just say cash buyers, it's going to pull a certain number. Now the thing you want to do is, I want cash buyers as well. Let me let you look at it first. It has over 778, but I want buyers that have purchased within the last year, so a max of a year of ownership. All right, so now that's going to reduce it down to 113. Okay, so as you can see here on the map, now understand that everybody that paid cash for a house is not an investor. Say out of this 113, you find 4 cash buyers that always are buying in this area. That is a list that will make you a lot of money over a long period of time or whatever. So just trying to make sure you understand what that means when it says cash buyer. Now the other thing you can do, and it depends, you can go ahead and select flipper, and it pulls 5. Now it looks like it has commercial property in here out of all of this, which you can go in the filter and only select residential. One of the wrong things, residential, and single family, and then it reduced it down to 4. Okay, and so the other thing is that I put in the filter of owning a year with the flipper, and so it went up to 8 when I removed that. So you can go about it 2 ways. You can do it that way if you own a particular property. Now, if you're just trying to find cash buyers throughout an entire zip code per se, then you could do just the zip code, the same criteria. It pulls up, that's still on the flippers filter. Now, if I go in and I select cash buyers and then have owned for less than a year or less, all right, now it pulls up 279 for the entire zip code. But you know zip codes can change as far as the prices of houses or whatever in the same zip code. They're not going to all be the same values in some cases. So as you can see on the map, these are all over the place. Some are across the freeway or whatever. This area is generally about the same throughout for the most part, pretty close and consistent to each other in that particular zip code. But as with always, so what you would do, you can go here and select all 279. So that's not, around 1,000 or what, so you're good there. Add to list, so you can either create a brand new list or add it to an existing list. So if you go over and create a list, you name it or whatever, and then now you can either go in and skip trace that list if they're all individuals. Some of these are being under entities, I'm sure. Just like this one right here, it's under LLC, which you can filter that out. Go here to ownership info, individual, and that's going to reduce it down to 75 versus 279. Now, if you want to still target the LLCs and corporations or whatever, just in a business entity, then phone numbers may be more difficult to reach, but you do still have their mailing address. Just like, which one was it? Oh, all of these are individual. I took it off. Let me just go back and remove that. All right, and I don't know which one it was. Okay, it was this one. All right, it has their mailing address. It's a Florida company. So, and what did they pay for it? So that bundled that in with some other property. It says $1.8 million, so they bundled that in with some other property. All right, so, but that's pretty much it. That's how you build your cash buyers list. You can take it and do whatever you want to with from there. So again, another tip to help you make this money. Okay, so now we want to go into just simple property details. It can be very important as far as knowing information about the property when you're trying to negotiate. All right, so have an address ready to go here, input, and I'll pull up the information here. So this property here is showing a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and it's 914 square feet. Now, sometimes this information is not correct because people will do additions to their property without getting permitted from the city or county where the property is located. It also gives you the year built, which is important, and the lot size. Now, all of that's important also, but you can also get into, obviously it's a single family property. It's showing it's off market, which that can vary. Someone can put it on the market the same day and it wouldn't be updated that fast, but generally speaking, that's normally right. It says owner type, corporate, non-owner occupied, which again, that can go back and forth depending on how fast. It says occupancy occupied, which this property is vacant. So that can go back and forth because of how fast things can move in real estate. Length of ownership, 5 years, which is important to know that in some cases, depending on how you're building a list. They purchased with financing, and then it showed the county, which is Jefferson. Now, you can also, if you wanted to, you can get down here in the tax information and all that stuff or whatever, depending on the county and how they make that available to the public will vary or whatever, but you can also get into that information. So now that's just some general information about the property itself, as far as just info that you can use to your benefit. As much information you can know about a property can help you negotiate better deals. So property details is one of the other ways when I'm starting to research a particular property, just looking at some of the general information to see if it matches up with what the county is saying or what the seller is saying or whatever. Once you go out, you'll be able to see what they own out to whoever you send out there. So boom, property details. Skip tracing. Get this question a lot on how to do it, what service to use, and so on. Well, you can do it all right here in Dealulator, aka Propstream. All right, so a lot of ways you can go about it. You can do single searches. You can do 2 or 3 properties at a time. You can do 3,000 properties at a time, 30,000 at a time. Just depends on what you are trying to accomplish. But assume that you're just driving for dollars or whatever, and you just have a few properties that you want to search. Then I'm basically going to show you how to do that and what the rates are. Now, understand with skip tracing, the max on this is 25 cents per hit, right? Meaning what numbers pulled. All right, now, just like with bandit signs, everybody that sees your signs are not going to call. Just like with direct mail, everyone that receives your direct mail piece is not going to call. All right, now with skip tracing, if you upload 1,000 numbers and 500 of those come back where you could actually have a right number to contact someone, that's a successful source of possible lead generation. Now, actually it's a little more than that, but I'm just trying to get your expectations to where they need to be when you're talking about skip tracing. Now, if you want to pay $5, $10 per search, then yeah, you can probably get everybody's number that has one or whatever if you want to take on the expense. So we're just playing the numbers game here. We contact enough people, we're going to do deals. You know, it's just that simple. And that's what I try to focus on and make clear. So to get on right to it, so we're going to use an address that we have already looked at here. And understand when we get in here, you're going to need to first identify the property or properties that you want to search for, and then you have to save those. So what you do is go to details on this particular property and you will save it. All right. So it automatically just goes to your My Properties, which everything that you save goes there, but you want to identify so you can find it a lot easier. So what you'll do, you can add it to an existing group or you can create a new group. So I'm just going to name it after this actual street address of this particular property, and then I'll save it. All right. Now that's if you're doing like a single search or whatever, and you'll just name it after that property. But, and I'm going to come back to that in a second here. But assume that you're going to do a larger number. So let me clear this, and I'll just put in this particular zip code and add a couple of filters just to really quick. Don't get too tied into this. We're going to come back to this in a minute. We'll just say clear and clear, residential, single family, bought in the last, I don't know, 2 years. I'm sorry, that's the number of bedrooms. Go to owner information. So don't get tired of this. I'm just trying to build a quick list here for you. All right, and individual. All right, so boom. All right, so that's 920 people. So say if I want to only skip trace, my budget, I can only skip trace 100 of these. So what I would do is I would just go to filter, then I'll put in 100, right? And now I have the list. So if I want to add this to a group, then what I would do is select this. That'll select all, right? Then I add to list, and then I would create the new group. And so boom, and then you can go in and find it under your marketing, under your group. So what I'll do is I'll just put in some easy numbers here so I can find it. Let me use $, just 1010. All right, and so I'll save that. All right, so remember I saved the single property, but I want to show you out here if you did multiple properties in one. All right, now even with if I want to now do, just to say, I say, well, no, I want to do 200 of these, just to show you how you can add it to an existing list. So I'll just go up to 200 here. All right, so that'll change. So now, so actually what I would need to do is 101 to 200. So I want to do 99 more of these. Well, I'm sorry, 100 of these. So I would add, and then I would go in and I would find that list that I just created, which is right here. And so now I would just save that to that particular list, that additional 100. All right, so 100 properties. So that's how you do that, just to show you a little tip here on how to use the service. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll go over to skip tracing. Okay, so they have the different rates here. So 1 to 500 is 25 cents for phone numbers only, emails only 25. But if you're going to do both, it's 30. So you can see the breakdown here depending on how many you're trying to skip trace. So I'm just only looking for phone numbers here. Emails I really don't target. It's hard to get an open rate with people with their emails or whatever. That's up to you. It may be a unique way of doing it, but it's just something I don't really focus on. I like to be able to either call or text someone. So I'll do phone numbers. So now I need to go ahead and select the actual list. All right, so you go here to groups, and the name of that particular, though, just the one property is right here. I named it after the property. So now I would hit add to contacts, and so I hit done. Okay, so I hit next. All right, it tells me how much it's going to cost, and the reason it's saying 0 because I've already searched for this particular property, but it would have said 25 cents for this particular property. So I'm going to place the order. I'll hit accept. Okay, and so that's the name of it. I'm going to leave it as a name, which you can go ahead and change it if you wanted to. All you got to do is just highlight and delete, and you can change it, but I'm going to put it back. All right, and so hit done. So now what you would do is you would go over here to contacts, and you would go down here to skip tracing, and you will find it. So I went here to find it. Now, it already has the numbers here, even though it's saying processing, it's because I've already looked them up, right? And so normally when you do that, it's going to say processing, and then when it completes, it'll have the numbers here. But until it said, while it's saying processing, this right here would normally be blank. All right, and I'm going to show you with the other list that I did, but I'm not going to skip trace the list. I just want to show you how to find the larger group and what the cost would be. All right, so let's go back to skip tracing. Again, when this completes, then if there are numbers to be pulled, it'll be right here. And so it has multiple numbers. It looks like it has 5 numbers here for this particular person. All right, so now let's go back to skip tracing, and I want to do phone numbers again. I want to select the group. Where is it? So here it is right here with 180 of them. All right, so I hit add selected contacts. I hit done. So now I'll go ahead and hit next, and it gives me the total of what it would cost to skip trace. It says 174 because some of them were removed from the DNC list, I'm sure. So boom, so you would make that decision. You're going to place the order, and then you place the order. And now you see it's completed over here on the one property search, so it has the phone numbers. So boom, there are your numbers as far as skip tracing. Now, if you wanted to export those numbers, I'll just use one that we have here already. And on this list here, I'm glad I pulled this up. As you can see, some of them doesn't have phone numbers. It didn't pull info on some of them. Now on this one, I actually did do email addresses. So what you would do to export your list, just select all, and then you hit export, and it's going to export it into, I think, a CSV file or Excel. Either or, you can work with both of them. Even if you don't have that application on your PC or laptop, you can use Google Sheets to open those. So boom. So that's skip tracing. Okay, so just wanted to offer a little bonus information dealing with pre-foreclosures and auctions. Obviously, with all of it, you have to determine an area that you want to target. So normally it's going to be by county that you want to target. So I'll go back to Jefferson County, and you go over here to filter, and you select pre-foreclosures. Now, if you just select pre-foreclosure, it's going to pull up everything commercial, residential, which most of it will be residential, and then it's not going to separate the different auction dates. So go back in here and go to pre-foreclosures and foreclosures, and you can do stuff that's going to, close next week. They're going to auction off next week. But ideally, what you want to do is you may want to go forward. We'll just say to February 22nd and beyond. All right, and it pulls up 43 properties. All right, and you also want to identify residential, single family, and it pulls up 39 properties. So whenever you click on one of these, if you click on it, you have your pre-foreclosure details. It shows the date of the August auction, which is March 16th, the time where it's going to be located, and so on, the actual recording date. And then this property actually has more liens on it, so that has to also be taken in consideration with it or whatever. So unpaid sewer bill is what it's showing. So you dived into the actual pre-foreclosure side of it, and you can see the auction date, and you can change those filters to target what you're particularly looking for. And obviously with this information, you can skip trace and try to reach out to the people. Just understand with pre-foreclosure, number one, everybody is trying to target those, or a lot of people are. There's a lot of competition. And understand these people are going through some financial issues, and a lot of times they're just hard to reach, and they're just hard to deal with for a number of reasons. A lot of times they think money is just going to fall out the sky, and I hope that's the situation where they can save their property. But if they're not paying that particular bill, then they're not paying a lot of bills. So they're getting phone calls from all type of debt collectors beyond just the mortgage company bothering them on a daily basis. So you understand they can be very difficult to reach, but there could be a pot of gold there. A lot of times the equity is not there, so you have to do short sales. So that's going to be on you. That's a whole nother ball game in itself. Normally I don't deal with them unless the equity is already there. as far as the payoff versus what the ARV is and the condition, and obviously them wanting to sell at a price that works for me and obviously for them. So again, this is pre-foreclosure. This is a bonus particular method, way to use this tool. And we'll move on to the next phase of this particular video. I hope this part of it helps. Boom. I hope this video helped. Took a lot of effort putting this particular video together. Remember, this is a tool. My information is a tool. If you have the coaching from me, it's only a tool. You are the true asset. You are the guarantee. But what I like to try to do is to give you information, provide tools, number one, that I use on a daily basis, or it's coming from experience of what I've learned to help you do deals and to help you do deals easier and faster. So if you want access to this particular tool, take advantage of the 5-day free trial at Dealulator.com. That's Dealulator.com. Remember, you can also take advantage of the free one-page contract. You can fill it out right there on the site for free, and the deal calculator right there on the site for free also. But if you want to access this particular tool, Dealulator, aka Propstream, simply get over to the site, Dealulator.com. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you are alerted whenever I go live on Thursday nights and when we upload new videos just like this one to hopefully help you. Follow me on Instagram at AskFlipMan.com, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at AskFlipMan. AskFlipMan. Thanks. And guys, we will see you on the flip side.
Flip man, it's the flip man. You want some money in your hand? Flipping houses without credit or your cash. Get that bag.